Okay, picture this. You're stepping into a world that feels completely alien, but it's actually right here on our planet. We're diving into the dark, freezing wilderness of wild Siberia. And look, I don't want you to just think of Siberia as some location on a map. No, it's so much more than that. It is a living, ancient, and absolutely merciless entity. It's this frozen battleground where humanity is basically just witnessing a world that was never really meant for our survival. Let's get into this explainer and look at the chilling laws of nature governing one of Earth's last truly unforgiving wildernesses.
The source material puts it perfectly and brutally. In the Siberian winter, there is no room for error. There's only the survivor or the extinguished. This isn't your standard relaxing wildlife documentary, right? This is a survival chronicle. Out here, nature offers literally zero mercy. Every single day, for one creature to survive, another one has to die. It's this incredibly haunting balance between predator and prey. Patience, adaptation, and just sheer violence dictate who actually gets to wake up tomorrow.
Which brings us to Section 1, Winter, the apex predator. Just imagine an endless tundra sitting under this dim blue light. For half the year, daylight basically barely even exists. Temperatures absolutely plummet to dozens of degrees below zero, and these skin-cutting winds just violently lash through completely silent forests. The psychological feeling of isolation out here it's absolute. Winter just suffocates life. It freezes rivers solid and turns the entire landscape into this inescapable test of pure endurance.
So, who actually survives in a frozen void like this? Well, enter the phantom king of the dark realm, the Amur tiger, or the Siberian tiger, and their biology is just mind-blowing. We're talking up to 3.3 meters in length, a massive 300-kilogram frame. They have this dense thermal fur that literally thickens up when the winter storms start raging. And the scariest part? This colossal cat can move in absolute silence, hitting speeds of 60 kilometers per hour through deep snow. It's perfectly evolved to stalk prey invisibly through the icy trees. But it's what happens at the end of that stalk that's truly terrifying. 1,000 pounds per square inch. That's the crushing bite force of a Siberian tiger. Suddenly violently disrupting the quiet of the taiga, this massive force can instantly drop a 200-kilogram Siberian deer in one single fatal motion. It is just sheer, overwhelming power executed with terrifying patience.
Let's move on to Section 2, Tactics of the Taiga. Now, tigers definitely aren't the only ones out there waging war over these scarce resources. Take the gray wolf pack. In Siberia, a wolf pack survives purely on collective intelligence and shared hunger. It's an exhausting chess match. First, they're forced to patrol up to 50 kilometers every single day, burning through precious fat reserves just to keep warm. Then, they have to track incredibly faint reindeer scents across deep, exhausting snow. After that, it's highly coordinated tactical strikes to scatter the panicked herds. And finally, delivering a 400-pound per square inch bite to crush bone. Every single hunt is a desperate, do-or-die calculation of energy. But here's the sad reality. Nature doesn't care how hard they try. 50%. Just take a second to really think about that statistic. Half of all gray wolf pups simply will not survive their first winter. The cold is just so cruel, and hunger affects the whole pack equally. A pack only really succeeds in about 20 to 25% of its hunting attempts. So every meal is literally a lifeline. And this creates a brutal standoff. On one hand, you've got the highly tactical, stamina-driven pursuit of the wolves. But on the other, you have the muskoxen. Think of these guys as ancient, 400-kilogram living fortresses wrapped in thermal coats of super thick wool. When they're threatened, they don't run away. Instead, they form this unyielding, impenetrable defensive circle. They point their lethal horns outward and keep their vulnerable calves safely in a center. It's like watching a prehistoric battle unfold in the snow. Ultimately, it all boils down to an inescapable reality: blood-staining white snow. Out here in Siberia, every single movement wastes precious energy that you might never get back. So when a predator brings down its prey, it's not some big triumphant victory, It's really just a temporary delay of starvation. The whole balance is exhausting, eerily silent, and steeped in fear. On to Section 3 now, Kings of the Melting Ice. Okay, we're leaving the forest now and heading way north to the frozen waters of the Arctic Ocean, because we need to talk about Earth's largest terrestrial predator, the polar bear. Now, fun fact, their hair isn't actually white. It's made up of transparent, hollow tubes that perfectly camouflage them against the snow. Plus, they have these massive 30-centimeter wide paws that work like natural snowshoes, so they can walk across collapsing ice sheets. And their sense of smell? No joke, they can detect a seal from 1.5 kilometers away, buried beneath a solid meter of ice. It's an evolutionary masterpiece. And when they finally ambush that seal at a breathing hole, try 1,200 pounds per square inch. That is the terrifying bite force that crushes a seal the absolute fraction of a second it surfaces for a breath of air. It is the ultimate display of dominance in this incredibly hostile frozen ocean. But wait, even for the supreme king of the Arctic, there is an 85% failure rate when hunting. 85%. That staggering number really highlights the sheer difficulty of their existence. Starvation is a constant, gnawing threat. A polar bear can lose up to 1 kilogram of body weight a day if it fails to find food. This frozen kingdom, no matter how powerful you are, guarantees absolutely nothing. Let's look at Section 4, the brief, deceptive spring.
Eventually, sunbeams do breach the dark woodlands, but this melting ice, it actually signals immediate danger. Rivers suddenly fracture into these deadly, unstable ice strips. And even scarier, the waking giants, the predators that hid away during the darkest months, they start emerging. The atmosphere is incredibly tense. You see, the thaw doesn't just bring life back. It brings frantic, starving predators.
And the crucial number here is 40%. Brown bears waking up from hibernation and polar bear mothers coming out of their dens with cubs, they can lose up to 40% of their total body weight over that dark winter. Just imagine that for a second. They wake up fundamentally starving. So their emergence into this deceptive spring is an absolutely frantic, violent race for calories. As the thaw exposes new prey, we get to see the spectacular tactics of Siberia's lesser-seen ghosts. Down in the taiga, you've got the boreal lynx. They rely on absolute stillness before executing a perfectly silent 4-meter ambush jump right out of the shadows. And meanwhile, 4,000 meters up in the deadly Altai Mountains, the snow leopard is making these lightning-fast 6-meter leaps across sheer cliffs. Both of these cats are absolute masters of stealth, perfectly adapted to a world where missing a single jump could literally mean starvation. Now for the prey, spring means one thing: running. Millions of reindeer, who are already pushed to the absolute brink of exhaustion by the harsh winter, have to migrate over 1,000 kilometers. And they aren't just outrunning predators anymore. As summer hits, they are outrunning these massive, blood-sucking swarms of insects. It's an endless, draining march across a thawing world, with wolves constantly stalking their flanks.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, the final extinction.
You see, something is breaking this ancient natural cycle. For millions of years, these animals evolved perfectly to survive ancient threats, right? Starvation, blinding blizzards, alpha predators. But they absolutely cannot evolve fast enough to survive modern threats. We're talking rapidly melting permafrost, the noise and destruction of industrial gas mining, and rampant poaching. Humanity has introduced a force way more merciless than the Siberian winter itself. And the result is frankly catastrophic. We're looking at a massive reindeer population collapse. Historically, we saw numbers around 5 million. Today, that has dropped to just over 3 million. This shocking drop is mostly due to climate change, shifting the entire ecosystem, and human expansion literally blocking the ancient migration routes that these animals have relied on for millennia. Let's be really clear about what we are looking at here. This is an environmental collapse. It's the true apocalypse for this ecosystem. Arctic sea ice, which is the absolute foundation of the polar bear's ability to hunt, is disappearing at 13% per decade. Meanwhile, the Siberian tiger, that phantom king of the dark realm, has seen its ancient forest kingdom reduced by 30%. We literally have polar bears drowning from exhaustion and tigers getting boxed into rapidly disappearing forests. Which leaves us with this final, genuinely haunting question. If the ice vanishes and the silent forests fall to industry, who is going to be left to survive the final winter of wild Siberia? The ancient laws of endurance, hunger, and silence that built these magnificent creatures, they might disappear entirely in just a matter of decades. It's a heavy, profound thought to take away from this explainer today. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning what happens when the ice finally runs out.